It is you.
Hello, Mr. Mark Longbottom.
Yeah, some would say that, wouldn't they? There's some great questions, actually, from the listeners on radio. What on earth were you thinking of? What are those questions?
Indeed, she's come out to bat eventually, a very staunch defence of her tax-cutting strategy. Every pound that we take from people in tax is pound that they can't spend on themselves and their family. And also a frisson there with something that she said, talking about Whitehall savings, tax cuts, but also cuts in spending to try and balance the books. I know from talking to Liz Truss over many years, as she's done various cabinet jobs, including Chief Secretary to the Treasury, number 2, another journalist will tell you the same. She's often expressed disbelief at the inefficiency of government, at the inefficiency within some of our public services. She mentioned the NHS there. So it may be that despite the cost of living crisis, despite angst that a lot of people feel about making ends meet, there could be slightly less government spending for some departments too, even though costs of providing public services are also going up because of inflation.
Liam, if it was that easy to find efficiencies in public spending, a government that would have been in for 12 years might have found them by now. I put it to you.
And it's a point very well made, Gloria. Every budget I've ever covered, decades in journalism, there's always efficiency savings, a kind of big black box to make the rest of my numbers add up.
Cutting red tape.
Cutting red tape.
Yeah, that's
tax evasion. You know, there's all. So, but for her, OK, I completely agree with you, but you know better than anyone, Gloria, politics is about timing. And to use that efficiency savings line at a time like now, when her back is up against the wall, when people are calling for her Chancellor's head in resignation, then for her to say, I think we can make government more efficient, it's doubling down on her strategy. She's not apologising for cutting the top rate of tax. And look, under normal circumstances, she wouldn't have to. They're cutting the top rate of tax to 40%, where it was throughout the whole of the new Labour years, bar a couple of months at the end, when Gordon Brown raised it to 50% to cause the Tories a problem when they eventually cut it. But it's about timing. She's trying to sound defiant, resolute, determined, not for turning. Remind you of anybody?
Yeah, exactly. And maybe not the Iron Lady, but the sort of copper-bottomed lady, who knows. But looking at what the markets have done, the volatility seems to have sort of dissipated a moment. What happens next? Because obviously there are those like Gerard Lyons, the economist you know well, even Sir Mark Carney, the Bank of England former governor, basically saying it was the way that they presented this. So are they going to have to rethink what happens in November when we're going to get the next tax indications and plans being put out there?
I think it's all in the balance, Mark, and I think Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss, like me, I'm walking around literally with my phone open on pound dollar, 10-year gilt yield and the price of wholesale gas. And I'm checking them every 5 minutes, because if I see a move, I'm going to come in this studio and tell...
You just barge in.
Tell you...
And it happened yesterday that way, didn't it? Suddenly it was woof.
It looks calm for now, OK? It looks as if early days, that very important but technical and slightly difficult to get your head around Bank of England intervention yesterday worked. What does that mean for people at home if that sticks? It means interest rates won't need to go up as much as they otherwise would have. Right. It means the pound isn't going to plunge, making the cost of living squeeze even tighter, because all our imports, including imported energy, including oil for petrol and diesel, then becomes more expensive. It looks calm for now, but it could change at any minute.
We've had some viewers and listeners getting in touch. We want to put some of those to you. So Dave says the problem with the current currency fluctuations are down to one thing. Financial sharks like those in the City of London, they have seen issues and have piled in to short the pound and make money. Does Dave have a point?
Dave does have a point, and he clearly has some experience of financial markets, or he's certainly read widely, because he's used the phrase there, to short the pound. What does that mean? OK, what that means is you make a bet that the pound is going to fall, and then you make money off a falling pound. You can make money, you can short a stock if you think some bad news is about to emerge about a particular company. You can short its stock, so make money out of the fall. So you bet against something. That's very easy to do with something called a derivative. You have to take my word for it. And Dave's right. I personally think there are currency traders who get together on WhatsApp groups and they think, OK, Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, for whatever reason, they've clearly made a real political error here, right? It's tone deaf to lower the top rate of tax, and to do it just before a Labour conference. Obviously, the media is going to absolutely pile in. They don't care that they're just lowering it to the same rate where Tony Blair and Gordon Brown had it.
But there wasn't a recession, or there wasn't an economic turmoil, and arguably Labour introduced it when there was the financial crisis.
Exactly right, Gloria, exactly right. Labour introduced that rate of tax then. It was different times, different horses for different courses. You can defend lowering that rate of tax, but the financial markets could see the media was going to give these guys a kicking because it looked politically inept. Now, if there's a general mood that the media is going to give the market a kicking, give the government a kicking, that's an opportunity, right, for traders. They can see the government's under pressure. They can see that they're on the back foot. They can see that they could elicit from the government, from the Bank of England, some kind of intervention, which then they could double down and trade again and try and make lots of money, as Dave said, off that short selling.
Similar point, actually, from Judith, who's written to say you're spot on about what's going on in the economy at the moment. It's the financial markets taking on the government. Does anyone honestly believe that 45 billion tax cut is what this is all about? All governments have been borrowing like crazy for years. But, of course, the problem is when you are a free market government, you've actually got to accept what the free market tells you, you know.
But even if you're not a free market government, you know, even Clement Attlee's government, right, after the Second World War, you know, arguably the most socialist government we've ever had. We can debate, you know, whether I think they did some good things, they did some bad things, but that's a very non-free market government. But they still lived in a world where the pound and the dollar was traded. The UK still had one of the biggest stock markets in the world. You know, almost all countries in the world, even ones that are pretty statist, have financial markets because they are, you know, they're tumultuous, but they are the lifeblood of commerce. Without them, we'd have very few of the facilities and the artefacts which make up a modern life.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me put to you what Godfrey says. Sorry, did I just interrupt you?
No. I was just going to say we've got one more.
This interest rate rise is inevitable. You can't endlessly print money to suppress interest rates. The global elites have dictated this policy, and the UK had no choice but participate, Liam.
Quantitative easing that you were talking about yesterday.
Well, Godfrey's definitely onto something. I have been writing and talking to GBNews colleagues a lot in recent days. This is a global phenomenon. Look, if Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss never entered the House of Commons in their life, interest rates would be going up now a lot. They're going up a lot around the world. The Bank of Japan, the central bank of the world's third biggest economy, has just done a very similar intervention into the long end of their yield curve. Funny language, but exactly the same thing that we've just done over there on the other side of the world. This is happening all over the world. Interest rates in America have gone up far more than anywhere else in the Western world. And that's kind of part of the story, Mark. This is a strong dollar story. The whole world has fallen against the dollar. All the major currencies in the world have fallen against the dollar, some of them by more than the pound. It's just that we focus on the pound, and in many ways the world focuses on the pound. Pound, dollar. It's called cable because it's the first ever electronically traded currency with a cable that we laid underneath the Atlantic Ocean. It's when global financial markets were born. It was the first move. The whole world looks at cable, as they call it, the pound-dollar exchange rate, as a kind of virility symbol, a litmus test of where the world economy is. And if cable is volatile, you know that you're in for some financial turmoil.
Yeah, and just very quickly, some of those speculators may have got their fingers a bit singed because we're at, what, 108, 109 at the moment? So
but they will come again. They will come again. What I would say is that if I was a currency dealer and I was working with people around the world to try and really get short the pound and really cause some turmoil, I'd be waiting for Tory conference because that is when the government will be most vulnerable. Maybe a bit of speculation, maybe the day of her speech.
Ouch. Right, thank you. You're going to Birmingham. Watch out.